Hey, what's good, fam?
What's up, everybody?
I'm Jason.
And I'm Janet.
And yo, we back.
Back for another one.
Back for another one. And excited about the content today.
For sure.
And today we're talking about the 5 lessons that we learned in our house buying process.
Yes.
So like we mentioned in our previous video, we purchased a home.
Yay.
Went from our 800 square foot home to a home that has more than enough room for the fam.
Yes.
You know, and so just wanted to share those lessons that we learned in the process,
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely. And so we're going to jump right into it. Number one. We downsized in order to upsize.
Yeah.
So, like Jason said, we were living in an 800 square foot home, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. Yeah. Y'all, it was tiny. Now, it wasn't a tiny home technically, but I think they call this square foot type of home a compact home. That's what we were living in. We literally had 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, very small, very cramped, and we decided to move into that house not because it was super small, but because we wanted to be able to save money, invest money, and be able to travel when we wanted to.
Right.
And so we were like, look, we're going to downsize.
Mm-hmm.
And us being able to save money, one of the reasons why we stayed in a downsized type of situation was so that we can save money to purchase a home.
Yep.
So that we would have a down payment that is sizable so that we could purchase a home and, be able to stay under, our 25% income, monthly income, and all that good stuff that Dave Ramsey talks about. So.
Absolutely. So that was one of the lessons that downsizing in the short term is worth it because it allows you to upsize. In the long term.
Yes.
So y'all know what I'm saying. So that brings up lesson number 2, which lesson number 2 is this. And this was sort of a surprise to me, but bear with me. So lesson number 2 is credit matters.
It does matter.
To a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
So credit matters to a certain extent. And so this was a surprise to me because when we bought our first home, we didn't have like a credit card, but there were student loans.
Yes.
Okay, so technically there was like a credit history.
Yes.
Which allowed us to buy our first home. So this go around, we're debt free, all of that good stuff. And this go around, thinking, all right, here we go. Let's get the house buying process underway. And found out that my wife was approved, but I wasn't.
Like they had no credit on him.
And because I didn't have any credit history because we had paid off all of our debt, it was like, hey, no, we can't loan any money.
Anything, bro.
And the crazy thing is that Janet, like her credit history came from a dental credit card that she was pre-approved for that she never used, and so, but that lingering around on her credit is what sort of made her have a credit history. So we learned in that process that like credit matters to a certain extent, you know what I'm saying? And so that's not to say, hey, run out and get a credit card if you want to buy a house, but just wanting you all to know the lesson that we learned in that process.
Because that was definitely a lesson.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
So,
but anyways, it's all good.
It's all good.
Lesson number 3.
All
right, so we found out for ourselves prior to buying the home, prior to even looking for a home, we found out that it was best for us to purchase a home based off of one of our incomes.
Yep.
Okay, so from the jump, we were like, okay, we sat down, we looked at our finances, and we said, all right, we don't want to spend more than 25% of our monthly income on a home.
Right.
And so, and that's one of the things that Dave Ramsey talks about. And so we looked at our finances and we said, okay, this is the amount that we can afford. And this is the monthly payment max that we're willing to go to. And we stuck with that. Like, we didn't do anything differently than that. Right. We said, this is it. So if we see a home that's more expensive than this, that we're kind of eyeing, unless they come down on that price, we're not moving our numbers. That's it. Yeah. So we purchased the home based off of one income.
Yeah.
Because we don't ever want to get in a situation where, God forbid something happens and, we're not able to work for a small period of time and we're in a frenzy and like everything blows up and all that stuff. And so we thought and we knew that it was best for us to stick with purchasing a home based off of one income.
Absolutely. So one of the things that Janet always talks about is she doesn't want to be house poor, and so our commitment to just one income was something that we were firm about because it's a way that we want to live, right? And we all have a way that we want to live, a way that we want to operate, freedom that we want to have, right? And for us, we knew that was only going to be possible if we limited things to one income.
Because we like our house, but I don't want to stay in this house all day, every day, 24/7 because I don't have money to do anything.
Yep. No, real talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's keep it rolling. Keep it rolling to number 4. It has to do with our emergency fund. Sometimes we think, okay, I have this emergency fund, about to buy a house. All right, so if I need to make a down payment, I can dip it to my emergency fund. Or if I need, got to cover moving costs, I can dip it to my emergency fund. What we learned, listen to this. I want you to listen. Don't do it.
Listen.
Don't do it. Keep your emergency fund for an emergency, right? Yes. Do not dip in it for moving costs or for down payment, because those are things that we should be thinking about before we get to the signing table, right? And so here's the reason why we learned that lesson is because we go and we get our items out of storage, moving into the new home, and get the refrigerator. The refrigerator, has been in storage for almost 2 years. We've taken the necessary precautions before we put it in there, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, we open the refrigerator up right outside the home, and there's mold everywhere.
Full of mold.
Okay. So now we have a refrigerator with a water line, ice line, all this kind of stuff full of mold. I have a pregnant wife and a daughter, a little daughter.
We're not risking.
That's a risk that I'm not taking. So this has now become an emergency. And so I'm so grateful that we did not dip into our emergency fund for those other things, because we had an emergency that knocked on our door right when we were moving into our home. So that's lesson number 4.
That's it. And that's a huge lesson, babe.
Yeah. Lesson number 4. Yeah. And so that brings us, to the 5th lesson, and we would be remiss if we didn't say this one.
Oh yeah.
But lesson number 5 is we learn to be patient and to trust God. Now y'all know we are people of faith, and man, that's just, I'm telling you, there were so many moments where we could have just went into a frenzy, sort of fretted, sort of been anxious and worried, or whatever. Times in which we did get concerned and we were stressed, and I know I had to battle, and just saw God's just faithfulness.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Like when we started the house search, we had just found out that we were expecting another little one, and I said I want us to move into a new home by the time I'm 6 months pregnant. Like, I don't want to be 7 or 8 months pregnant trying to move and just knowing what all moving entails. Like, I just didn't want to be that far along in the pregnancy at that point. But man, like, God hooked us up with the right people. He hooked us up with a great real estate agent, a great loan officer, just greatness all around us. And and honestly, we put in 2 offers on 2 separate homes before we got to our home, which was the house that we put the 3rd offer on. And I mean, there was some discouragement along the way. Like the first house that we put an offer on, we were like, oh yes, like this is it, and it fell through.
Fell through, like literally minutes, hours, like fell through.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaker. Somebody beat us to the table. It was
painful. Yeah, and the crazy thing is that you fixate on that particular house, and you think that that's the one, and then when it doesn't happen, it's this big letdown, and just learn to just trust the process and to stay with it and to submit those things to God, and man, he came through, and
clutch.
and it's one of those things of like, you know, we were committed to not settling.
Yes.
You know, like I think the temptation is to settle. You know, and so we just had to remind ourselves, hey, no, let's be patient,
right.
and let's just trust the process.
Yeah.
You know,
and we would always say, like, once a door closed, we're like, okay, God, we know that you have something better for us. Like, that was just every time something, every time a door closed, we're like, okay, God, you have something better for us. We would go look at a house that we were pretty confident was going to be the house. Like, there was a few houses that we felt really good about before we looked at them, based off of pictures and numbers and things like that. And getting there, it was just like, oh, okay, Lord, all right, well, we know you have something better for us.
Right, yeah. And now we are in a home that has what we were looking for and more. And so, so just grateful for that lesson, something that we will hold on to, and something that we wanted to share with you all. So those are our 5 lessons. Jay, you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, so if you have any lessons that you've learned during this process, make sure you drop them in the comments so that you can be helpful to the next person in the community that may be going on this process.
Absolutely.
You know, want to help a brother out, help a sister out.
That's real talk. So fam, we love y'all.
Yes.
See y'all next time. But before we go, remember to hustle, grind, and pray. You already know what it is.
You know.
All right. Love y'all.
Love y'all. Peace.